Roger Colbert, and I'm here to have an exciting interview about a really fun film that I had an opportunity to be part of called Brought to the Future. And I'm here interviewing two of the principals who are behind this wonderful project. And it was called Brought to the Future. Yes, probably an allusion to something with which you all are familiar. So I'd like to introduce, so if you would like to introduce yourselves and how you participated in this film.
Hey, sorry, some of us are having technical issues, as you can kind of tell. um, Somebody is trying to log in and ask me a quick question. So, okay, sorry, you asked me to introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, my name is Monique Gugino. I am co-founder of Wicked Window Productions, and I was one of the writers for Brock to the Future. And I directed Brock to the Future, and I also was in Brock to the Future as an anchor. Typically, I don't like being in front of the camera, but for a project like this where it was kind of more of a fun passion project, it was exciting to do something like that.
What was the motivation for creating Brought to the Future?
So it's kind of hard to pinpoint like exactly how it got started, but
Uh,
um, a while back, I'm talking about a couple of years back, just a group of us in Wicked Window, we were talking about maybe getting drunk and writing a story, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, we should do a drunk fest where we just write everything drunk, and we were talking about even filming drunk, but that is not a good idea. Expensive camera and drinking, no, that does not go well together. So we just decided to do it the way that we did it, where we wrote it drunk, narrated it drunk, but we filmed it completely sober.
most filmmakers get drunk after they film their film projects. I guess you all wanted to do the reverse.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we wanted to open up our minds because
Hold it now, I can't hear you. Is that me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you all. Hold on. Is that me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. It just stopped all of a sudden. I still can't hear you. I can't hear. My speakers are working. Is it something with your mic?
Hello?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. So, okay. So, I'm sorry. What was the last thing you heard?
My question. Didn't hear
Oh my
anything.
gosh, so you didn't hear anything from me after that.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay, I am so sorry. Your question was, where did this idea come from? Did you hear that answer? Yeah,
uh,
because you responded to me.
I heard that part.
Okay, so I think the only thing I said after that was that it was such a great experience because when you write a story, you really overthink about everything. Is this joke funny? Is this in the right order? And when you don't have that little voice speaking with you because of the alcohol, then it becomes really opening just to see where the story can go without overthinking about it, especially when we all spend so much time researching beats and story structure. It was really, really nice to just turn all of that off.
Now, I just a very philosophical question. Why did you feel you needed to be drunk to do that? Could you just decide write something for fun without the pressure, without inebriation, without necessarily being inebriated?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, I believe that you don't need to be drunk to have fun, but but I think it's especially me. I'm an organizer. I like structure. Um, it is much harder for me to just let it go and just totally be stupid. And I'm not a naturally funny person, so
I would say
for so for me, drinking, it loosens me up, and it helps a little bit with the laughter and bringing out some of the silliness. And just for the record, we did it completely safe. Nobody drove home. Everybody had a designated driver. Well, Gian and I, we did it at home, so we were perfectly fine. But anybody else that was there drinking, they were safe.
what ground rules did you set in order to do this drunk fest?
Do you mean the for the story?
Yeah, like how did you like conceptualize it? Like, did you all think that let's just get drunk and write a script, or did you say, well, yes, we want to do that, but yet we want to set these particular ground rules, like no creating anything that's pornographic or offensive or gross or stupid. I don't know. We can't say that, but I'm just kidding. But the question is, did you set any ground rules in the context of being just drunk?
Absolutely. Well, actually, in a different way. So, what we did is that I asked my sister to go to a store and buy something small, under $5, and that had to be our main prop. So she got lazy and didn't go buy anything. So she found in her house those like things that you put over your eyes. They're like not microscopic, but they're magnetic, magnifying glass kind of thing.
Hmm.
And we wrote the story based on that. Otherwise, the only ground rule we had was that we could not change the story. So we had, I had the computer in front of me and I started typing everybody was shooting ideas and I was writing down. I wrote like essentially one scene, one paragraph, and then I passed on the laptop to the next person, and that person heard us speak and would type out another paragraph, and we just went around the table, each one of us adding to the story. But the thing is that you cannot go back and fix other people's mistakes. So there were typos, there were things that people snuck in there that we didn't realize. So it was definitely a very, very collaborative and very much not believing in saying no, that's not good enough.
So, so creativity was the main groundwork.
Absolutely, and especially since Wicked Window, we're slightly different than some of the other groups that are around here, where usually it's like one or two people that are that they're the filmmakers. It's the films. And with Wicked Window, we have a core team of people. We have like about 15 people in our team. And so this was a good team building event where people not only wrote the stories, but they were part of it as filmmakers and as actor. Most of the people that were involved in the writing process were also in the film.
Cool. So could you just it sounds like you started already, but could you talk about that moving from post production to production? Like, how did you decide to do the casting? Oh, actually, how long? What was the interval between when you finished the script and started shooting? Was it like the next day, or or like a month later, or something like this?
We didn't go super fast, but we went relatively fast. So once we wrote the script, we did not allow ourselves any time to actually read it again. So once we wrote it, we spent 1 week away from the script. We could not look at it at all, just because you start thinking, and so we didn't want to do that. So we had the first time that we heard it or read it again was during the narration, and that was 1 week after we wrote it. And so the first time I was listening to Evie tell us the stories, and as we're filming this, I'm like, oh my God, what did we write? That doesn't make any sense. How are we going to film this? Where are we going to get an office and all that other stuff? So it was kind of an interesting thing. And then that's when we started really the planning that's involved. We knew who we wanted as the main actor once we heard the story. We had worked with Bevan previously in Hunters. He was the demon in Hunters. And so we knew we wanted to work with him again. So we brought him on as Gunnar Brock. And then the rest of it was just, we wanted to give our people a chance to be in it, to really make this their film where they're highly involved throughout the entire process.
Was there? So would you say that the script, what people actually see, well, will see when they go onto the YouTube to watch it, if they haven't already, of course, actually looks much like the
Yes, we were not allowed to touch the script. And so what you saw is pretty much what we got. The only challenge was that we gave the story to Evie, our narrator, and she read it as she was drunk. So she added a lot of dialogue that wasn't there, or not a lot of dialogue. I mean, the movie doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but a lot of the dialogue that was in there, that was her improvising and her telling the story. So yes, we wrote the story, but I think she took it one step further and made it even better. So there were things that she said, like for some reason because she was also inebriated, she told us that Gunnar Brock took off his glasses 3 times. And so I'm like, no, we can't touch what she said in the script. We just got to keep going. So I made sure to use a lot of the mistakes or the craziness. Like she changed the gender of one of the characters midway through a scene. The not the cafe worker, the person that was in the cafe, she described him as he throughout the beginning. And all of a sudden she just started using she. And instead of making that change, we just went ahead with it.
That's cool. That's cool. I didn't catch that.
I know some people are like, oh my gosh, did that person just change outfits? I'm like, no, she just totally changed gender because that's the way that Evie interpreted the script and read it back to us.
Now, what would you say was their favorite part of the filmmaking?
For this particular one, the one thing I really enjoyed was exactly that, was Evie's part, where we wrote a totally crazy story, but she added personality to it. The way that she said the words, the lines, the little side notes that she gave us. I think that added a lot of heart and personality to the story, and I highly enjoyed that. And then seeing the characters come to life based on that and how they used how she said things, like Gian, my husband, he was Salvatore Romano, and which that was probably one of the best parts of the film for me to be able to see that. And the
Right there,
mustache
folks.
was totally the mustache was totally real. And seeing how a lot of the actors, they just use Evie's silence, or how in her drunken state pronounced certain words, it just made it so much more interesting.
For something where people are drunk, it seems very uh, straightforward. It seems
What's
very
crazy about it is that Wicked Window Productions, we're known for like usually our horror comedy stuff, and to do something that was so sci-fi for us in our drunken state, that was hysterical for me, because we had me, who I love the geek stuff, so I like magic, vampires and stuff like that, and then Gian, who is more of a sci-fi guy, so that I can understand. But then Shelley, who is very much a horror person,
uh-huh.
she it's like, how did this table come up with a time traveling story? I have no idea.
And what would you say was your biggest challenge in making this film?
Biggest challenge, I would say, it was getting the actors to follow the way that Evie did her reading. So there was a lot of effort that went um, into organizing that. The first day that we filmed, it was I cut everything by scene. So if I needed an actor to just say one line, if we had to like sit there and I had to like go back to exactly where the line was and enough time to like lead the actor in. And so I got smart on day two, and I just cut everything in bite sizes, and it made it so much easier for them. But it takes a lot of practice on the actors to be able to do that. It had, because they needed to come in, they needed to know exactly how she pronounced everything, and her time, the way that she said it. And then I do see that we have one question on our chat.
We do.
um,
Oh, wow. Great.
Somebody asks, well, where do we live? Well, we are in the Tampa Bay area. That's where we typically film stuff, here in Florida. And are we Latinos? I am actually Brazilian, but there's no one set nationality. We try to bring anybody to the table who's interested in making films. Um, and I think, is that why the cafe worker changed clothes? Yes. To answer somebody else's question.
That's nice. Where are these chats coming in? Do I see
On
them?
YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube. Cool.
Mhm.
Let's have some more chat, some more questions.
If I see more, I will definitely let you know.
Now, if someone, so it actually does sound like, once you have the script done and you're in production, you still had to do quite a bit of work to actually to complete this project so that it looked still had a very good product.
Yeah, we took it as serious as well, not as serious, but just as close to being serious as possible. So except everything was a lot more compressed. We were probably not just probably, we weren't as organized as normal, because I wanted to make this a more collaborative project than most projects. Most projects, the director has a vision for the film, comes in with an idea of how everything is going to look, where things are going to be set up, and I did not want to do that with this project. All of our team building projects, I try to avoid being the director too much, because I want everybody to contribute to where things should go. Like we were doing scouting, all of us. Like, so we went into the office where we filmed the beginning of Rock to the Future, and I said, okay, everybody, you know the scenes, let's talk about them. Go out there and find locations. Where can we film this? And then I just gave them, here, you guys start setting things up and we'll go from scene to scene. And so it was really awesome to do it, just very collaborative, where wasn't all this pressure on one person, the director. Even though I love directing and I love everything that goes with it, even all the headaches.
You probably enjoy
It,
the pressure.
yeah, but it was really nice to be able to do something a lot more collaborative than normal.
Did anything surprise you in this production? Any surprise?
Um, I don't think so. Not surprised. I mean, we had terrible luck with finding a location. We got kicked out of Ybor because we were sitting down with all of our equipment. And so the security guard that walks around Central Ybor, he's like, you can't loiter here. You got to get out. And we were just sitting there waiting for people to come in. So I would say maybe that's the most surprising thing. You can't just sit down in Central Ybor if you have things with you.
What time of day was this?
It was midday.
Really?
It was like around 1 o'clock.
Huh.
Learned something new.
That's something that. Would you do it again? That's always a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. We were trying, our goal was to get over 1,000 views on YouTube for Brock to the Future. If we get to 1,000 views on YouTube, then we're thinking about making 4 more episodes, not just Brock to the Future, but drunk filmmaking. And these would be much shorter. They would be like under 5 minutes long. But we wanted to make a web series out of it, but we need those views, and we need to see people are interested in seeing more of drunk storytelling, drunk filmmaking.
Of Bevan and Evie.
Yes,
Of course, the story could change with the next project, right?
exactly. It would be a different story, different characters, whatever we come up with in the next sitting down and drinking and having fun.
Now, if there were, would you have any advice to any other filmmaker who wanted to approach filmmaking this way?
Um, Drinking doesn't always mean better, but if you're going to do something like that where you're going to have somebody narrating a story, even if it's like a flashback, is just make sure that your actors know the story and they're comfortable with saying their lines exactly how the person says their line. You have to have some comedic um, element in you to be able to pull something like that off, because it's so much harder to be able to listen very carefully to how everything is said and figure out what would be driving the narrator to say it that way. So it adds a different layer of acting, because it's not just what you think the character is doing, but it's what do you think this other person thinks about what this character is doing and why they're saying it that way. So as an actor, it's so interesting to see it that way.
And as a director, that that sounds like something that probably did surprise you. You know how much effort that required to pull that off.
Absolutely. It was a lot more challenging than I thought it could ever be. I hope I don't get to do too many of these narrated stories, because it is a lot of preparation on my part, listening and cutting clips, which, that's not really a part of like what I would normally do as a director. So it just added a ton more work for me.
I'm trying to think where you see that in other films. Maybe like these graphic novels. This is like graphic novel movies that have become graphic novels. Seems like they put it in something like that.
You see that in more films than you would think. Oh, I think if I remember correctly, I think Ant-Man does it, where the character that tells the story of, like, somebody asks about something in the past and he kind of narrates something that happened in the past, and he kind of, I think he does the lip thing as well, where he is talking as if he's the people. So it's not as long as this or as intense, but films do this all the time when they're, especially in comedies, when they want to do like a flashback as if one character is telling the story.
You know, it does definitely add a different dimension of storytelling.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's almost as if there's a different person there that's telling the story than what's present. So it kind of lures the, I think it lures the audience to become a lot more engaged in the story rather than,
Hmm.
although, you know, you often learn in filmmaking, um, always tell the story, let the story tell the story, don't have someone tell the story. But I think that this is a technique that adds a different to, to the visual that one sees. Um, well, is there anything else that you would like to mention about Brought to the Future? Where
No, not really. It looks like we don't have any.
where where
um
where can people see it? That's probably a good question.
That is a great question. So people can watch it now on our YouTube page, or
Right.
you can go to Facebook and watch it there, or you can go to Instagram TV. In Instagram TV, we had to break it into two parts. The first part is live now. The second part's going to be live tomorrow.
And but it's the YouTube video views that counts. It's the YouTube views that count more, though, right?
For us, yes. We're trying to grow our YouTube audience. And so we want people to go to YouTube and watch it. And that's what's going to get more episodes of Drunk Filmmaking, is people go to our YouTube page to watch it. But if you are not a big YouTube person, then you do have other options.
I can't imagine people are not big YouTube people. There's so much on YouTube.
I agree.
All right. Oh, so as I said, is there anything else that you would like people to know about Drunk Fest?
No, that is pretty much about Drunk Fest brought to the future. I hope everybody highly enjoyed it. We enjoyed making it for you guys, and thank you so much for everything, for supporting us and watching our films.
Well, you know, everyone always looks forward to what Wicked Window is always up to. So people know that there's always going to be something interesting and engaging. And it's part of just one of many projects.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Um,
And
so,
I know you have something to share with us, right?
oh yes, yes. I actually last year produced a film festival dedicated to the well-known psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud. Actually, he was a neurologist, to be correct. And it was something that when I did it, people asked me, "Why would you do something like that?" And I told people that, you know, if you're a filmmaker and you stated not only film from an academic point of view, because when I was in graduate school, I wrote a couple papers about film, and you're always the ideas of Freud always come up because psychological films are such a big part of the genre of film. So, so my master's degree is in instructional technology there at USM, and we had psych. So I thought about, what would it be interesting to have a film festival dedicated to Sigmund Freud's theories. And I spoke to a couple people I know who are psychologists. They were actually divided. They said, well, you know, first of all, Roger, a lot of people don't, a lot of psychologists don't like Sigmund. They don't like his theories, but it would still be interesting. So I said, well, that's a good idea. So let's do it. So I did it last year, and I thought it went really well. We had about 10, 10 or 12 entries. We had some people who just sent me things they just thought were really weird and felt that would fit into Sigmund Freud. And then there was other people who sent things that fell into the requirements because we wanted it to be competitive. So it turned out really well. When we had the screening at the Bellagio cinema there in Carrollwood, there are people who actually thank you for putting on something like this because they were looking for. They are people who like films, but they thought it would be great to have a film festival dedicated to things that are very thought provoking. So we had Johnny, who was a local filmmaker, who did a very good film dedicated to Sigmund Freud's theory of the Oedipal complex, and it was really good. And it won a couple awards. It had this little boy who was quite the actor, and so we hope to do it again next year. It's always Sigmund Freud's birthday, which is May 6th, but this year in 2009, that falls on a Monday, so we're thinking about having it on Sunday. But we're already having the call to entries on Film Freeway. So anyone who wants to know any more about the film and want to contact the film festival, contact me. Just go to Film Freeway and put in Sigmund Freud. There's no other film festival dedicated to Sigmund Freud. So, I've contacted the Freud Museum in London a number of times, but they haven't gotten back to me. So they haven't sent me cease or desist orders yet. so, so we're moving on. So 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 people can just go right there and like I said, if people made some type of movie um, that's had something to do with Freud's theories or something about psychology, we have both a competitive, we take competitive they fit into certain requirements such as Freud's theories, different color, and a line of dialogue, and all that's mentioned on the Film Free Way website, and as well as non-competitive entries where in fact, I thought last year we received some really good non-competitive entries. One person submitted something on Sigmund Freud theory of obsession with fire. People just thought it was really riveting. Then some people said something about spiders, and that was a little weird. But like I said, some people just thought, "Hey, Freud, weird. Let's see." So we're looking forward to see what we get this year.
Cool. Very cool.
All right. Well, that's all I have. Unless you have.
No, I'm good. You
All right.
can take us home.
All righty. I'm not going to sing for you all this time.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, and